Hi, I'm Ruth, and this is my story. I'm sharing parts of my journey where I hope someone out there is listening or watching who can relate to me. I hope this helps someone in any way, shape, or form, or if you're just curious and just want to listen. I was born in Sydney, in Australia, and I currently reside in Sydney. My journey started obviously the time that I kind of came into this world, but I wanted to share a moment within my journey, and that's during high school. I actually didn't finish high school. And for a long time, that actually made me feel like a failure, like I was falling behind, like everyone was ahead of me, and comparing myself, but also stressing myself out at the same time. Why am I sharing this? It's made me who I am today. So let's start with why I didn't finish high school. I was battling my own demons at the time, and at age 15, I was diagnosed with depression and an eating disorder. It was really difficult for me because growing up, I had watched my own father take medication for his own reasons, um, and he's had to take that continuously. So the biggest fear for me was having to be on this medication for the rest of my life. It felt like I was being boxed into something. Um, and I slowly pulled away from school at age 15. So what happened there was I ended up falling behind all the classes. I ended up seeing a social worker with my parents as well, and she was absolutely lovely. She helped me discover parts of me that I didn't actually realize at the time. And looking back at it, I'm so, so grateful for her being able to walk next to me and support me where, I don't think some people in that time of their life get the support that they really need. So I was bouncing in and out of school quite a bit because we started to pull back the timings that I used to go to school rather than being a full-time student and going there 5 days a week, from 8:30 to 3:30, we started pulling that back. So once I started getting on medication and, I was able to eat again, sleep was okay, I started going back. But we took it at a pace that worked for me. So I was able to choose subjects that I preferred. So art and English were actually my two favorite subjects. So those are the two classes that I actually chose to go back into. Um, there was also Italian too, but I did choose that class to go back to because I had my friends there. But it wasn't my one of my favorite classes. Going back into that time was a bit difficult because it's almost as if the world had kind of stopped. It's like I had to re-walk into those through those halls and through that path where everyone's kind of going about their lives, and I was kind of coming in, then going out and coming back in again. There were lots of looks that I knew I was getting from people and lots of whispers asking where Ruth had been, what is she doing, all these sorts of things, and I didn't really pay too much attention to that. Where my head was actually at was I have such big weights on my shoulders because I had that decision to make if I wanted to continue school or not, and I knew that that was always lingering at the back of my mind because week on week, month by month, I was going back into school, but there was only maybe two classes going out into. And I knew that if I wanted to pass high school and either get my ATAR or HSC, that I needed to be across certain subjects and I had to meet a certain goal and line that someone had set for me. And I made the decision. Um, I came to that decision that I wasn't going to finish school. But that was one of the toughest decisions I had to make in my life. I remember the day still like it was yesterday, where some of the teachers had come into the principal's room, and my parents were there too. My social worker also ended up coming too to support me, and I just remember that day just really just almost battling myself still with going, is this a yes or is this a no? Like, what does the future kind of look like, and where will the road kind of lead me to? And I remember that day vividly like it was yesterday because I didn't make the decision on the spot that day. I asked for more time and they gave me more time. But I remember straight after that conversation that the principal had asked me to stay inside the room so we could talk further while everyone left. And I remember her sharing a story about her son who actually wanted to be an architect and how he never finished school. And she explained that he went through different pathways and he got to where he wanted to be, and he's extremely happy, and she's so proud of him. And I thought to myself, you know what, she is right. There are different ways to get to the destination. It doesn't mean that you have to follow the path that someone has actually laid out for you. You can pave your own path. Um, so I ended up taking that. After we had that discussion, I really thought to myself, night on night, day on day, I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to pull the plug. I'm not going to finish high school and everything's going to be okay. We're going to sort this stuff out because, I think it's one of those hard decisions where you almost have everyone breathing down your neck telling you that you have to finish high school. Once you finish high school, you have to go into uni. You have to know exactly what you want to do. And once you go from uni, you have to get into a job that correlates to what you studied for. And it's almost as if life is kind of laid out for you where it's like there's that, but after that, such as finding a person, having a family, or having a marriage with them first, then having a family together before that you have to buy a house. It's almost as if life has kind of been laid out for you, but that's not really the case. So I ended up taking a gap year from that. And during that gap year, I ended up finding a partner overseas. And that was something that I was actually not looking for. We actually met online on a website called Omegle. I don't know if anyone's still familiar with that because it's not a thing anymore. But essentially, those that might not know what Omegle is, it's a random chat roulette website, whether it's through text message, or it's through video. And this is where I'd met my partner at the time. And it's pretty crazy when you think about it because I was 16 at that age. And I spoke to my parents about that, and you can imagine what they would be thinking. If you're a parent out there, having your own child speak to some stranger online, we always talk about stranger danger, but it was so surreal because I remember the day that I had to sit down and tell my parents about it because I felt like it was becoming something really serious because it initially wasn't a romantic relationship. We just took interest into each other, and I remember speaking to him that day for hours, just messaging him. I think it was 6 hours straight. And the way that Amigo works is that if you're in text, you're complete strangers until you actually share information. And even if that information is shared, you don't know exactly if that's true or not. So we ended up sharing PlayStation names against each other because I played games at the time. Um, and we exchanged details. And we ended up speaking. He actually didn't know what gender I was or anything like that, or what I looked like, what my name was, anything. And we ended up speaking for months, day on day, night on night, and we got closer. And that's when I started to fall in love with him. And that's when things started to take a shift. So we had known each other for almost a month at some point, and he decided to come to Australia. And when he came to Australia, he spent 2 weeks with my family and I. Um, and the questions that kind of spiraled in my head were, how is this going to work? He lives in the Netherlands. I am based in Australia. We are pretty much half the globe away from each other. Um, and what I think worked for us at that point in my life was I wasn't sleeping like a normal person. I was up around the clock. I barely got any sleep some nights, and some days I'd be sleeping for almost the whole day. Um, the medication that I took kind of knocked me out until we actually started ramping up the dosage, and that started to help me. Um, but where I'm kind of getting with this is that I ended up taking a gamble on all of it. When he came in December, it was a few months after that, not long after that, I planned my trip to go there, and I ended up staying with his family for 3 months. So that was my first time ever leaving Australia, being away from home, being away from friends, had not finished school or anything, didn't know where I was going next, and I took that leap. I ended up going to the Netherlands. I ended up, understanding more about him, his family, the life there in Europe, the Netherlands, their family neighbors such as Germany. And after I came back from that trip, I started to think more about myself and what I wanted to do. So I was looking online, looking at jobs, looking at different pathways and where I kind of wanted to be. So I ended up doing face-to-face fundraising, and I tried that for about 2 days. I didn't get a dollar or anything like that to my name because the way that the system had worked in that business that I applied for was very related on your key point incentives, your KPIs, and how much revenue you were driving in for that. So I thought it was really interesting with how they actually set up face to face fundraising. But I learned a lot during those 2 days. The thing that I really didn't enjoy the most was almost feeling like a ghost. It's crazy when you think about it because you yourself, you're a human, but the moment you put that uniform on, whether it's a shirt that represents another company or anything like that, and you're holding pamphlets, you might have, lanyard around your neck, and you start standing there in like high foot flowing traffic, whether it's coming out of the train station, whether it's coming out of a shopping center, whether it's in the corner of a big intersection, you're pretty much invisible. By trying to wave to people and say hello to them and get their attentions, people would just blank you. They'd walk about their own day walking another direction as if you don't exist. And that really upset me. But the moment I noticed that my uniform came off during lunchtime, people would see you again. They'd talk to you. Um, and the other thing that I really didn't like personally was I felt like a salesperson. And no offense to people out there that are salespeople. I think personally that there's a bit of a difference between a salesperson versus someone that is actually passionate about something where they're not trying to sell it. It's because they actually genuinely want to share information with other people at their own, like someone else's benefit. Um, and that's when I really started to think to myself, I wanted to find my purpose and what drove me. And growing up, my mum was actually an ex hairdresser. So I did always take a bit of an interest in the beauty industry, whether it was makeup, whether it was hair, and we always had books floating around the house, which talked about how hair worked, the science behind it. And I remember this afternoon where we sat down on the couch and she brought out this thick book and she plopped it on my lap and started explaining about some of the way that hair works, because I think she knew how much I was struggling with trying to find my purpose in life and where I wanted to go, especially after choosing to finish school and not getting a certificate or an ATAR out of it. Um, so I think I was extremely lucky to have parents that were so supporting growing up, because I know that there are people out there that have parents that almost pave their own path out there where they could say that, you have to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that that represents the family but also their parents in a way, and people do get pulled into that. But fortunately for myself, I always had parents that taught me that there is more to life than just money. I think they always said to me that it was happiness. As long as Ruth is happy, they're happy. Um, so I shifted this slightly and took a bit of an interest in hairdressing. And that's when I ended up taking on a hairdressing apprenticeship. Um, my journey continued from there, but I think that's a story for another time. I just wanted to share this story about myself not finishing high school because I hope that someone else out there that might feel like they're stuck in life, whether it's school related, whether it's in life, or whether it's in your career, relationship, whatever it is, that your path is not predefined for you. It's what you make of it. You're in the driver's seat, but you have to remember that you're in the driver's seat, because when I look back at my journey in high school, I didn't feel like I was in the driver's seat at the time. I felt like I was on autopilot or almost sitting in the passenger seat and someone else had their foot on the gas pedal, that they had their foot on the brake and they were able to change those gears. But actually, when I look back at it, I was the one sitting behind that car the whole time, the steering wheel. I was able to shift those gears, but I didn't realize it at the time. But do I regret any of that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm so grateful for everything that has happened because that's what has made me who I am today. And I've learnt through so much through everything that's happened. Um, and sometimes we feel lost as well. But that's because we haven't stopped to reflect, to look within ourselves. That's what I've really started to do in my life a lot more. Because to understand ourselves, we have to ask all these questions. Maybe the questions that we sometimes avoid. Sometimes the questions that no one else ever asks us. But if we start that by asking, what do we want? What drives us? Or let's say, I don't know, I might be working at a hair salon again. I'm no longer a hairdresser at the moment, but what I'm saying is if I was to go back to my hairdressing days, I'd ask myself, rather than going, what drives me, because we might not have the answer for that. I'd ask myself things like, Does this matter to me? And if someone was to take this away from me tomorrow, would I be able to live without it? Or what fulfills me? Does this feel fulfilling? Because if the answer is no, or you pause a lot for that, the answer is no. Your gut is probably telling you something, but sometimes we don't listen to those signals our body gives us because we trust either our mind, it could be our heart, it could be, whatever it is, or an external factor that we trust instead. No one will ever also have those answers either, but yourself. I think life is also about the destination, not always about life is not always about the destination, as that can change along the way. I think the journey is just as important, if not more, because sometimes the destination may shift, but the journey in itself is who you find yourself to and who you come across along the way. So, for example, if you're a person that's listening or watching this right now, ask yourself, what's your favorite beverage today? It could be a coffee, it could be a specific coffee where it could be a decaf, it could be almond milk, it could have oat milk, you could be a tea lover instead. Otherwise, you might love, I don't know, juices or smoothies, matcha lattes, whatever kind of a drink it is today. Maybe a year from now, maybe even 3 years from now, it might not be a drink or a beverage that you even love anymore. You might start liking something completely different. But it's not to say you're wrong to love what it was that you began with. It's because things change. But also, I love how paradoxical this is. You could start with something that you really love today, and in 3 years' time, you don't love it so much. But fast forward, even then, you could actually go back to what you actually really used to love. It's who you discover, and who choose to become along the way, because we always have the choice. You spend all your life with yourself, so get to know you better than anyone else ever will. And it might be uncomfortable to begin with, but in time, you'll see. And what I've also come to realize in life is that we are so future orientated, we almost ask ourselves, what's next? What's coming next? And the moment we hit that goal, milestone, or whatever it is, it's almost like, okay, what's after that? What's after that? What's after that? We are so hyper fixated on what's in front of us that I think sometimes we also forget to be here presently, to be right here where the now is. But also our past is just as important because looking back at the past, that's what's made you who you are today. It's the people that you might have crossed paths with. It might have been the experiences that you went through and all the learnings that have come out of that. It could be also achievements too. So don't always forget to look back and just be more present. Be a bit reflective, but don't get stuck in the past because the past can also pull you back into it and you can stay stuck in there. Being present, I think, is so important because it's what controls the future. But also, the future will always come. It's just the now, the moment now that you'll never get back. So that's my journey that I'd like to share so far about my high school journey, what happened after I kind of left high school. But we have so many other stories that we'd love to share with everyone here as well that might be tuning in. And I hope that this has resonated with someone in some sort of way. And hope to be speaking to you guys soon.